Rain lashed against the black windows of the warehouse in Chelsea, New York. It was a cold, miserable night, the kind that soaked right through your clothes and settled in your bones. Shade shifted her weight from one foot to the other, her cheap sneakers squeaking faintly on the polished concrete floor. She pulled her thin coat tighter around herself, trying to hide the tremor in her hands. She didn't belong here. Everyone else in the room looked like they owned the city. Women in silk dresses that clung to them like second skins, men in sharp suits with watches that cost more than a house. They held champagne flutes and laughed softly, their voices echoing in the high-ceilinged space. Shade smelled like rain and the stale coffee from her shift at the diner. She kept her head down, clutching her purse so hard her knuckles turned white. Inside that bag was an envelope with $5,000 in cash. It was everything she had. Every tip, every saved penny, even the rent money she was supposed to pay tomorrow. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats," a voice boomed over the speakers. The lights dimmed, focusing on a small stage at the front. Shade found a folding chair in the back row and sat on the edge of it. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. This was it. Lot number 7. "Next up," the auctioneer said, adjusting his glasses. "We have Blue Sunday, oil on canvas, artist unknown." Two men in white gloves brought out the painting. Shade let out a small, shaky breath. Even from the back of the room, she could see the swirling blues and grays, the sad, beautiful face of the woman in the center. It was her mother's self-portrait. Shade remembered sitting on the floor of their tiny apartment in Brooklyn, watching her mom paint that. She remembered the smell of turpentine and the sound of her mom humming a jazz song. Her mom was gone now. The cancer took her fast. And the landlord had taken everything else, selling it off to pay back rent. "Bidding starts at $10,000, the auctioneer said. Shade's stomach dropped. 10,000, she only had 5. She felt the blood drain from her face. She opened her mouth to say something, to scream, but no sound came out. She was helpless. 10,000 to the gentleman in the front, the auctioneer called out. "Do I hear 15? 15, a woman raised her paddle. 20, the man countered. Shade watched the numbers go up, tears stinging her eyes. It was slipping away. The last piece of her mother, the last piece of the only person who ever loved her, was being sold like a piece of meat. 50,000, a deep voice cut through the room. The room went silent. Shade turned her head. The voice had come from the shadows near the heavy velvet curtains on the side. A man sat there in a high-backed leather chair. He was older, maybe in his late 40s or early 50s. He had silver streaks in his black hair, swept back perfectly. His face was sharp, handsome, but scary, like a wolf waiting in the dark. He wore a suit that looked blacker than the night outside. He wasn't looking at the stage. He wasn't looking at the painting. His dark, narrow eyes were locked straight on Shade. 50,000 to Mr. O, the auctioneer said, his voice trembling slightly. Going once, going twice. The man, Mr. O, didn't blink. He took a sip from a glass of whiskey, his eyes tracing the curve of Shade's neck, the fear in her face. He smiled, just a tiny lift of one corner of his mouth. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a man who just found a new toy. Sold! The auctioneer slammed the gavel down. Shade felt like she had been punched in the gut. He bought it. That man, he stood up slowly, buttoning his jacket. He was tall, looming over everyone else. He started walking, not toward the painting, but toward the back of the room, toward her. Shade wanted to run. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to get up and bolt out the door into the rain. But her legs wouldn't move. She was frozen. He stopped right in front of her. He smelled like expensive tobacco and danger. You wanted it, he said. His voice was low, smooth, and terrifying. I saw you. You wanted that painting. Shade looked up at him, her lip trembling. It belonged to my mother. Mr. O tilted his head. He reached out a hand, his leather glove creaking softly, and brushed a stray curl of hair away from her face. Shade flinched, but he didn't pull back. Is that so? He whispered. Well, now it belongs to me, unless... He paused, his thumb tracing her jawline. Unless you have something to trade. Stop. Before we find out what kind of twisted deal Mr. O is about to offer Shade, I need you to do something for me. If you are enjoying this story and you want to see Shade fight back, smash that like button right now. It helps the algorithm know you love these dark, gritty stories. Let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Are you in the US, UK, Nigeria? I want to know where the timeless K-Love family is at tonight. And listen, I have to be real with you. YouTube has demonetized this channel. They don't like the dark themes we cover. If you want me to keep writing these stories, if you want to know what happens to Shade, and if she ever gets her mother's painting back, you need to support the channel directly. Click the link in the pinned comment to join the Timeless K-Love membership on Gumroad or buy me a coffee. If you don't sign up, I can't afford to keep the lights on. And if I can't write, Shade is left alone in this warehouse with a dangerous man who sees her as property. Don't leave her there. Don't let her story end in the dark. Click the link, support the channel, and let's save this story together. Unless I have what? Shade whispered. Her voice was barely audible over the sound of the rain pounding on the roof. Mr. O withdrew his hand, but the ghost of his touch lingered on her skin, cold and heavy. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver cigarette case. He snapped it open, selected a cigarette, and lit it with a golden lighter. The flame illuminated his face for a split second, highlighting the sharp angles of his cheekbones and the dark, empty look in his eyes. "Walk with me," he said. It wasn't a question. He turned and started walking toward a side door marked private. Shade hesitated. She looked at the main exit. The security guard was standing there, arms crossed, staring at the ceiling. He wouldn't help her. No one would. She looked back at the stage where the workers were wrapping her mother's painting in brown paper. If she walked out now, she would never see it again. The only piece of her mom left in this world would be gone. She swallowed the lump in her throat and followed him. The side door led to a long concrete hallway. It was colder here. Their footsteps echoed, click, clack, click, clack. Mr. O didn't look back to see if she was following. He knew she would. He moved with a confidence that made Shade feel small. "What's your name?" he asked, not turning around. "Shade," she said. "Shade," he repeated, testing the word on his tongue. "Fitting, you like to hide in the background, don't you? Dark clothes, quiet, trying to be invisible." "I'm not trying to be anything," she muttered, a little spark of anger flaring up in her chest. "I just want my painting." He stopped at a heavy steel door at the end of the hall. He punched a code into a keypad, beep, 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 buzz. The lock disengaged with a heavy thud. He pushed the door open and held it for her. "After you," he said. Shade stepped inside and gasped. It was an office, but not like any office she had ever seen. The walls were lined with glass cases. Inside the cases were beautiful, creepy things. Porcelain dolls with cracked faces, antique masks with hollow eyes, butterflies pinned to velvet boards, and in the center of the room was a massive mahogany desk. "Sit," Mr. O commanded, pointing to a chair in front of the desk. Shade sat. The leather was cold. Mr. O walked around the desk and sat in his chair. He placed the cigarette in an ashtray and folded his hands on the desk. He looked at her for a long time, just studying her. It made her skin crawl. "You said you had $5,000, Mr. O said. I didn't say that," Shade stammered. "You didn't have to," he said smoothly. "I saw you check the envelope in your bag 3 times. I know the look of a desperate woman counting her pennies. 50,000 was the price, Shade. You are 45,000 short." "I can pay you back," Shade said quickly, leaning forward. "I have a job. I work at a diner. I'm an art student. I can make payments every week, I promise." Mr. O laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. "Payments from a diner waitress. It would take you 10 years to pay off the principal, not to mention the interest. I am a businessman, Shade. I don't run a charity." "Then why did you buy it?" Shade demanded, her voice rising. "If you knew I wanted it, why did you take it?" "Because," Mr. O stood up again. He walked over to one of the glass cases. Inside was a doll with pale skin and a black lace dress. He stared at it fondly. "I am a collector. I collect rare, beautiful things, things that have a story, things that suffer." He turned back to her. "That painting is full of pain. I could feel it from across the room. The woman who painted it was dying, wasn't she?" Shade felt a tear slide down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily. "Don't talk about her." "And you," he continued, ignoring her. "You are full of pain too. You are grieving. You are alone. You are fragile." He walked closer to her chair, leaning down so his face was inches from hers. "You are beautiful in your tragedy, Shade." Shade pressed herself back into the chair, trying to get away from him. "What do you want?" "I have a proposition," Mr. O said. "I will give you the painting. Today you can take it home." Shade's eyes widened. "Really?" But he held up a finger. "You cannot pay me with money. You don't have any, so you will pay me with time." "Time?" Shade asked, confused. "I need a companion," Mr. O said. He straightened up and walked back to his desk. "Not a girlfriend, not a wife, a piece for my collection, a living doll." "What does that mean?" Shade asked, her voice trembling. "It means you belong to me," Mr. O said simply. "For 1 year, you live in my house. You wear the clothes I choose. You sit where I tell you to sit. You attend functions with me. You do not speak unless spoken to. You are pretty, silent, and obedient. You are art, my art." Shade stared at him in horror. "You want to own me like a slave." "Like a masterpiece," he corrected. "I will take care of you. You will live in luxury. You will have the best food, the best clothes. You will never have to work in a diner again. And at the end of the year, the debt is paid. You leave with the painting and enough money to start your own life. Or," he shrugged, "you can walk out that door right now. Go back to your cold apartment. Keep your $5,000, and I will burn the painting in the incinerator out back." You wouldn't, Shade whispered. Mr. O picked up his phone. I can have my men do it right now. Shall I call them? Shade felt like the room was spinning. He was crazy. He was a monster. But he had the one thing she couldn't live without. She thought about her mom's face, the way she had looked in the hospital bed, so thin and pale. Don't let them forget me, Shade, she had said. Keep my art safe. Shade looked at the glass cases again. The dead butterflies, the frozen dolls. He wanted to put her in a case too, not a glass one, but a cage made of rules and silence. 1 year, she asked, her voice barely a squeak. 1 year, Mr. O confirmed. 365 days. You sign a contract. If you leave early, you owe me double the money immediately. If you break the rules, the deal is void. He opened a drawer and pulled out a piece of paper and a heavy fountain pen. He slid them across the desk toward her. What is your answer, Shade? He asked. Are you a brave girl who loves her mother, or are you just another coward who walks away? Shade looked at the paper. The words swam before her eyes. Contract of employment. Personal assistant. It didn't say living doll, but she knew what it meant. She looked at her hands. They were rough from scrubbing tables. She was nobody. A broke student in a big, cruel city. If she walked away, she kept her freedom, but she lost her heart. If she signed, she lost her freedom, but she saved her mother's memory. Outside, thunder cracked, shaking the building. The lights flickered. Shade stood up slowly. She walked to the desk. She picked up the pen. It felt cold and heavy like a weapon. I need to see the painting first, she said, her voice stronger this time. I need to know it's safe. Mr. O smiled. This time it reached his eyes. Smart girl, trust is earned, isn't it? He pressed a button on his desk. A section of the wall slid open. Behind it, resting on an easel, was Blue Sunday. It was safe. It was beautiful. Shade let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She looked at the painting, then at Mr. O. He was watching her with that same hungry look, like he was imagining how she would look on a shelf. Okay, Shade said. I'll do it. She bent down and signed her name. The ink was black and permanent. Mr. O took the paper and blew on the ink to dry it. Excellent. Welcome to the collection, Shade. He checked his watch. The car is waiting. We leave now. Now, Shade asked, panicked. But my stuff, my apartment. You don't need any of that, Mr. O said, walking around the desk. He stopped in front of her. He reached out and touched her hair again. Dolls don't have baggage. We will buy you new things, better things. He grabbed her arm. His grip was firm, not painful, but controlling. Come. Shade stumbled as he pulled her toward the door. She looked back at the painting one last time. I'm doing this for you, Mom, she thought. They walked out into the rain. A black limousine was waiting at the curb, engine purring. The driver, a giant man with a scar across his nose, held the door open. Get in, Mr. O said. Shade climbed into the back seat. The leather was soft and smelled like new money. Mr. O slid in beside her. The door slammed shut, sealing out the noise of the rain and the city. It was quiet in here, too quiet. Home, Mr. O told the driver. The car pulled away from the curb. Shade watched the city blur past the tinted windows. She was trapped. She was in a car with a stranger, going to a house she didn't know, to live a life she didn't choose. You are shaking, Mr. O observed. He took off his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It was heavy and warm, and it smelled like him. Shade wanted to throw it off, but she was freezing. She pulled it tighter. Thank you, she whispered. You must learn to say thank you, master, Mr. O said softly. He wasn't yelling, he was teaching. Try it. Shade's blood ran cold. She looked at him. He was serious. His face was a mask of calm authority. She started, but the words stuck in her throat. Try it, he repeated, his voice harder. Thank you, master, Shade choked out. The word tasted like ash in her mouth. Good, Mr. O said. He leaned back and closed his eyes. You are a fast learner. I think I am going to enjoy you, Shade. Shade stared out the window into the darkness. A single tear rolled down her cheek and landed on the lapel of his jacket. She was a doll now, and the game had just begun. The black limousine wound its way up a steep, twisting road. The city lights of New York faded behind them, replaced by the thick, dark shapes of trees. Shade pressed her forehead against the cold glass. She didn't know where they were going. Upstate? The Hamptons. Somewhere no one would ever find her. Mr. O sat silently beside her, scrolling through messages on his phone. The blue light from the screen lit up his sharp face, making him look like a ghost. He hadn't spoken since she called him master. The silence was heavy, suffocating. Shade wanted to ask where they were going, but the contract was already in her head. Silent, obedient. Finally, the car slowed down. Massive iron gates swung open automatically, revealing a long driveway lined with tall, manicured hedges. At the end of the drive sat a house that looked more like a fortress. It was made of gray stone and glass, sharp angles cutting into the night sky. There were no warm yellow lights in the windows, only cool white glows that looked clinical and uninviting. The car stopped. The driver opened the door. Mr. O stepped out first, then turned and offered his hand. Shade took it. His grip was dry and cool. He pulled her out, not roughly, but with a possession that made her shiver. "Welcome home," he said. They walked up the stone steps. The front door was enormous, made of heavy dark wood. It swung open before they even reached it. An older woman stood in the hallway. She wore a severe black dress with a white collar, her hair pulled back in a tight bun. She didn't smile. She didn't look at Shade's face. She looked at Shade's shoes, which were old and scuffed. "Mrs. Kim," Mr. O said, handing his coat to her. "This is the new acquisition." Acquisition, not guest, not girlfriend, not person, acquisition, like a lamp or a rug. "I see," Mrs. Kim said. Her voice was like sandpaper. "She is dirty." Shade flushed, shame burning her cheeks. She had come straight from the diner. She probably smelled like grease and rain. "Scrub her," Mr. O ordered, walking past them toward a spiraling glass staircase. "Burn those clothes. I want her ready for the gallery in an hour." "Yes, sir," Mrs. Kim said. Mr. O disappeared up the stairs without looking back. Shade stood there, clutching her purse strap. Mrs. Kim turned to her, her eyes cold and hard. "Follow me," the woman snapped. "And don't touch the walls." "Wait. Before Mrs. Kim scrubs away Shade's past and turns her into a living doll, I need you to listen to me. This story is getting dark fast. Shade is trapped in a house where she is treated like an object. If you are hooked on this story and want to see how Shade survives this nightmare, hit that like button right now. It tells YouTube that you love these gritty, intense thrillers. I have a question for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how creepy is Mr. O? Let me know in the comments. Is he a sophisticated villain or just a monster? And look, I'm going to be honest. Writing these stories takes a lot of time and energy, and with the channel demonetized, it's hard to keep going. If you don't join the Timeless K-Love membership on Gumroad or buy me a coffee right now, I might have to stop writing. Do you really want to leave Shade alone in this cold house with Mrs. Kim and Mr. O? If you don't support the channel, her story ends here. Click the link in the pinned comment. Be the hero Shade needs. Help me keep writing so she can find a way to fight back. Mrs. Kim led Shade down a hallway that seemed to go on forever. The floor was polished marble, so shiny Shade could see her own reflection walking upside down beneath her. There were no photos on the walls, no personal touches, just abstract art and expensive vases that looked like they would break if you breathed on them wrong. They entered a room that looked like a spa. It was all white tile and chrome. In the center was a deep, clawfoot tub. Mrs. Kim turned on the taps, and steam began to rise, smelling of lavender and something chemical. "Strip," Mrs. Kim said, standing with her arms crossed. Shade froze. Can I have some privacy?" Mrs. Kim let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Privacy? You signed a contract, girl. Property doesn't have privacy. Dolls don't have secrets. Take them off. Now." Shade's hands shook as she unzipped her jeans. She peeled off her wet socks, her diner t-shirt, her worn-out bra. She felt small and exposed under the bright fluorescent lights. Mrs. Kim watched her with zero emotion, like a mechanic inspecting a car for dents. "Get in," Mrs. Kim ordered. Shade climbed into the tub. The water was hot, almost scalding. She gasped, but Mrs. Kim didn't care. The older woman rolled up her sleeves and picked up a rough sponge. She didn't ask Shade to wash herself. She did it for her. She scrubbed Shade's skin until it was red and raw. She washed Shade's hair 3 times, digging her nails into Shade's scalp. It wasn't a bath, it was an erasure. Mrs. Kim was washing away the diner, the cheap apartment, the rain, the poverty. She was scrubbing away Shade. "He likes them clean," Mrs. Kim muttered, more to herself than to Shade. "Pure, flawless." When it was over, Shade was dried with a towel that was softer than anything she had ever touched. Mrs. Kim threw Shade's old clothes into a bin. "My keys," Shade said, panic rising. "My mom's locket, it was in my pocket." "Trash," Mrs. Kim said, closing the lid of the bin. "You have no keys because you have no home to go to. You have no locket because you have no family here. You are new." Mrs. Kim opened a closet door. Inside, there were rows of clothes, but they weren't normal clothes. There were no sweatpants, no jeans. It was all silk, lace, and velvet, dresses that looked like they belonged in a museum or a Victorian painting. Mrs. Kim pulled out a dress. It was pale blue, the exact color of the background in Shade's mother's painting. It had a high neck, long sleeves, and a tight waist. "Put this on," Mrs. Kim said. Shade pulled the dress on. It fit perfectly, which was terrifying. How did he know her size? The fabric was cool against her scrubbed skin. Mrs. Kim zipped it up the back. It was tight. Shade had to take shallow breaths. "Sit," Mrs. Kim pointed to a vanity mirror. For the next 30 minutes, Shade was painted. Foundation that made her skin look like porcelain. Blush that gave her a fake, healthy glow. Mascara that made her eyes look huge and wide. Mrs. Kim brushed her hair until it shone like black glass, pinning it back with pearl clips. "Stand up," Mrs. Kim commanded. Shade stood. She looked in the mirror. The girl staring back wasn't Shade. It was a stranger, a beautiful, empty stranger. Good enough, Mrs. Kim grunted. Come, he hates to be kept waiting. They walked back through the silent house. Mrs. Kim led her to a set of double doors. She knocked once, then opened them. The girl, sir, Mrs. Kim announced. Shade stepped inside. It was a library. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined the walls, filled with leather-bound books. A fire crackled in a massive stone fireplace. In the center of the room, Mr. O was standing by an easel. On the easel was Blue Sunday. Shade's heart leaped. She took a step toward it, her hand reaching out. Mom! Stop! Mr. O's voice was like a whip crack. Shade froze, her hand in midair. Mr. O turned slowly to face her. He held a glass of red wine. He looked her up and down, his eyes traveling from her pearl hair clips to her black patent leather heels. He didn't look at her face, he looked at the whole package. Turn around, he said. Shade hesitated, then slowly turned in a circle. The blue dress swooshed softly. Perfect, Mr. O murmured. The color matches the painting exactly. I have a good eye. He walked over to her. He circled her like a shark circling prey. He stopped behind her, leaning in close to her ear. She could smell the wine on his breath. You tried to touch the art, he whispered. Rule number 1, Shade, you look but you do not touch, not unless I tell you to. It's my mother, Shade argued, though her voice was weak. It is canvas and oil, Mr. O corrected. It is mine, just as you are mine, and I do not like my things to be messy or emotional. He walked back to his desk and sat down. He pointed to a small velvet armchair in the corner of the room near the fireplace. Sit there, he said. Shade walked over and sat down. Posture, he snapped. Back straight, ankles crossed, hands in your lap. Shade straightened up. She crossed her ankles. She folded her hands. Good, Mr. O said. He picked up a book and started reading. The silence returned. The only sound was the crackling of the fire and the turning of pages. Shade sat there. Her back started to ache. Her nose itched. She wanted to shift her weight, but she was afraid to move. She watched the clock on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Shade's muscles were screaming. She needed to move. She glanced at Mr. O. He was engrossed in his book. Maybe he wouldn't notice. She shifted her left foot just an inch to relieve the pressure. Mr. O didn't look up. Did I say you could move? Shade froze. No, sir. Then don't, he said calmly. Dolls do not fidget. Dolls are still. If you cannot be still, I will have to tie you to the chair. Do you want that? No, Shade whispered, tears pricking her eyes. Then be still. She sat there for another hour. Her body went numb. Her mind started to race. This was torture. It wasn't physical pain exactly, but it was breaking her will. He was training her like a dog. Finally, Mr. O closed his book. He stood up and stretched. Dinner, he announced. He walked to the door. Shade didn't move. She didn't know if she was allowed to get up. He stopped at the doorway and looked back. You may rise. Shade stood up. Her legs were stiff. She stumbled slightly but caught herself on the arm of the chair. Graceful, Mr. O warned. Always graceful. He led her to a dining room. The table was long enough to seat 20 people, but there were only 2 settings, one at the head and one to his right. They sat. Mrs. Kim brought out plates, a tiny piece of fish with 3 asparagus spears. It looked like a work of art, not a meal. Shade was starving. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. She picked up her fork. Wait, Mr. O said. Shade dropped the fork. It clattered loudly against the china. She flinched. Mr. O sighed. He looked disappointed. So clumsy, we have much work to do. He picked up his napkin and unfolded it, placing it on his lap. You do not eat until I eat. You do not chew loudly. You do not slurp. You take small bites. He took a bite of his fish. Shade waited, then picked up her fork again. Her hand was shaking. She took a small bite. It was delicious, but she couldn't taste it. She was too terrified of making a noise. Tell me, Mr. O said, swirling his wine. What are you thinking right now? Shade swallowed hard. I'm thinking about the painting. Liar, Mr. O said softly. You are thinking that I am a monster. You are thinking about running away. You are thinking about the knife next to your plate. Shade's eyes widened. She looked at the steak knife. It was sharp, silver. Go ahead, Mr. O smiled. It was a challenge. Pick it up. Shade looked at the knife, then at him. He was twice her size. He had guards. He had money. If she tried anything, she would be dead or worse. And the painting would be gone. She slowly picked up the knife and used it to cut a piece of asparagus. Mr. O chuckled. Smart girl, you have a survival instinct. I like that. It makes breaking you more interesting. He took a sip of wine. Tonight, you sleep in the East Wing. It is the wing for the collection. The collection? Shade asked. My dolls, he said. You are the newest one, but you are the only one who breathes. Shade felt a chill run down her spine. Are there others? Many, he said. Porcelain, wax, wood, but you, flesh and blood, you will be the crown jewel if you behave. Dinner finished in silence. Mrs. Kim returned to clear the plates. Mr. O stood up. Show her to her room, he told Mrs. Kim. Lock the door from the outside." "Yes, sir," Mrs. Kim said. Mr. O walked over to Shade. He reached out and touched her cheek. His thumb brushed over her lip. "Good night, Shade," he whispered. "Dream of me." He turned and walked away. Mrs. Kim grabbed Shade's arm. "Come." She led Shade up the stairs to the east wing. The air was colder here. The hallway was lined with glass cases. Shade tried not to look, but she couldn't help it. Inside the cases were dolls. Some were small, some were life-sized. They all had blank, staring eyes. They all looked like they were screaming on the inside. Mrs. Kim stopped at a door at the end of the hall. She opened it. "Inside," she said. Shade walked in. The room was beautiful but terrifying. It was decorated like a Victorian nursery. There was a canopy bed with pink ruffles, a rocking horse in the corner, shelves filled with antique toys. There was no phone, no TV, no computer. The windows had bars on them, hidden behind lace curtains. "The bathroom is through there," Mrs. Kim pointed to a small door. "Lights out at 10. If you make noise, the guards will come, and they are not as gentle as Mr. O." Mrs. Kim stepped back into the hall. "Wait," Shade said. "Please just tell me, does he really keep me for a year? Does he really let me go?" Mrs. Kim paused. She looked at Shade, and for a second her face softened just a tiny bit. "He keeps his contracts," Mrs. Kim said. "If you survive the year, you leave." "If?" Shade asked. "Good night," Mrs. Kim said. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. Click, clack. Shade was alone. She ran to the door and tried the handle, locked. She ran to the window and pulled back the curtains. The bars were thick iron. She looked down. It was a 3-story drop to the concrete patio below. She sank onto the floor, the blue dress billowing around her like a puddle of water. She was trapped. She was a prisoner in a house of dolls. She crawled over to the bed and curled up in a ball. She closed her eyes, trying to picture her mother's face. But all she could see was Mr. O's smile. All she could feel was the ghost of his touch on her cheek. "I will not break," she told herself. "I'm Shade. I am strong. I will get my painting and I will get out." But as the wind howled outside, sounding like a crying child, Shade wasn't sure if she believed it. The next morning, Shade woke up to the sound of a key turning in the lock. She sat up quickly, clutching the silk sheets to her chest. Sunlight streamed through the barred windows, making the dust motes dance. The door opened. It wasn't Mrs. Kim, it was a young man. He was tall, with messy brown hair and a kind face. He wore a simple gray t-shirt and jeans. He held a tray of food. He looked at Shade and his eyes widened. He seemed surprised. "Oh," he said. I didn't know anyone was in here." Shade stared at him. A man in jeans. He didn't look like a guard. He didn't look like Mr. O. "Who are you?" Shade whispered. The boy blinked. He looked at the tray in his hands, then back at her. He lowered his voice. "I'm Leo," he said. "I'm the gardener. Mrs. Kim told me to bring breakfast to the guest in the East Wing. She didn't say." He trailed off, looking at her dress. She had slept in it. It was wrinkled now. "She didn't say what?" Shade asked, sliding off the bed. "She didn't say you were real," Leo said. I thought he bought another wax figure." Shade felt a laugh bubble up in her throat, hysterical and sharp. "I'm real, unfortunately." Leo stepped into the room and set the tray on a small table. He looked at the door nervously. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Mr. O, he doesn't like people in the East Wing." "I can't leave," Shade said, walking toward him. "The door was locked." "I know," Leo said. He looked at her with genuine pity. "He locks everything beautiful away." "Can you help me?" Shade asked. It was a dangerous question. She didn't know this boy, but he had kind eyes. Leo took a step back, shaking his head. No way, I just water the plants, miss. I need this job. My dad is sick. If Mr. O fires me." "Please," Shade begged. "I just need to make a phone call, just one call." "I can't," Leo said, backing toward the door. "I'm sorry, eat your breakfast. Mrs. Kim will be up soon." He turned and hurried out, locking the door behind him. Shade stared at the wood. Leo, the gardener. He was scared, but he was human. He wasn't a robot like Mrs. Kim or a monster like Mr. O. He was a crack in the armor. She looked at the breakfast tray. Toast, fruit, coffee. Next to the coffee cup was a small white card. "Be ready at 9:00 a.m. We have a visitor." "Mr. O, a visitor." Shade looked at the clock on the wall. It was 8:30. She had 30 minutes. She ate the toast quickly, her stomach growling. She drank the coffee. Then she went into the bathroom. There was a fresh set of clothes hanging on the hook. It wasn't a dress this time. It was a white tennis outfit, a short skirt, a polo shirt, and pristine white sneakers. Tennis? Shade changed quickly. She washed her face. She tried to fix her hair, but without the pearl clips, it fell in loose waves around her shoulders. At 9:00 sharp, the lock clicked again. Mrs. Kim opened the door. She looked at Shade's hair and frowned. "Messy," she tutted. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a white ribbon. She tied Shade's hair back into a high ponytail, pulling it so tight Shade winced. "Better," Mrs. Kim said. "Come, the master is on the court." They went downstairs and out a back door. The sun was bright, blinding after the gloom of the house. The estate was massive. Green lawns stretched out for miles. In the distance, Shade could see a high stone wall topped with security cameras. They walked to a clay tennis court. Mr. O was there. He was wearing white shorts and a white shirt. He looked younger in the sunlight, athletic and powerful. He was hitting balls against a machine. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Standing next to the court was another man. He was shorter than Mr. O, balding, with a nervous sweat on his upper lip. He clutched a briefcase to his chest. "Ah, Shade," Mr. O said, stopping his swing. He didn't look at her, he looked at the man. "Come here." Shade walked onto the court. She felt exposed in the short skirt. "Mr. Tack," Mr. O said, gesturing to Shade with his racket. "This is my new acquisition. Shade, this is Mr. Tack. He is an art appraiser." Mr. Tack looked at Shade. He seemed uncomfortable. "She is lovely, Mr. O, very lifelike." "She is alive, you idiot," Mr. O laughed. "But she is art. Tell him, Shade, what are you?" Shade swallowed. She hated this. She hated him. "I am art," she said flatly. "See," Mr. O grinned. "Now, Mr. Tack. You said you had doubts about my collateral for the loan." "Well, yes," Mr. Tack stammered. "The bank requires tangible assets, real estate, gold, stocks." "I have something better," Mr. O said. He walked over to Shade and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I have beauty, I have control. This girl, she is worth more than gold. She is the embodiment of submission." Mr. Tack wiped his forehead with a handkerchief. "I don't think the bank accepts people as collateral, sir." Mr. O's smile vanished. The temperature on the court seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Then the bank is foolish," Mr. O said. "Shade, pick up that racket." Shade picked up a spare racket lying on the bench. "Stand there," Mr. O pointed to the baseline. "Mr. Tack, stand on the other side." Mr. Tack looked terrified. "Sir, I don't play tennis." "Stand there," Mr. O roared. Mr. Tack scrambled to the other side of the net. He stood there, clutching his briefcase. "Shade," Mr. O said calmly. "Serve, aim for his head." Shade's heart stopped. "What?" "You heard me," Mr. O said. "Serve the ball, hit him in the head. If you miss, you spend the night in the cellar, and the cellar has rats." Shade looked at Mr. Tack. He was shaking. He was an innocent man. "I can't," Shade said. "Rule number 2, Mr. O said, his voice icy. "Obedience, do it." Shade looked at the ball in her hand. She looked at the racket. She looked at Mr. O. She threw the ball up. She swung the racket. Thwack, the ball flew across the net. It missed Mr. Tack's head by an inch, whizzing past his ear. Mr. Tack yelped and dropped his briefcase. "Fault," Mr. O called out. "You missed, try again." "I won't." Shade dropped the racket. It clattered on the clay. "I won't hurt him." Silence. The wind rustled the trees. Mr. Tack was hyperventilating. Mr. O looked at the racket on the ground, then he looked at Shade. He didn't look angry, he looked fascinated. "Defiance," he murmured. "Interesting, most of them break by the first morning." He walked over to Shade. He picked up the racket. He looked like he was going to hit her with it. Shade flinched, bracing for the blow, but he didn't hit her. He handed the racket to her. "Again," he whispered. "Hit him or I burn the painting." Shade felt the tears hot and fast. He knew exactly where to hurt her, not her body, her heart. She took the racket. She looked at Mr. Tack. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. She threw the ball up. She swung. Thwack. The ball hit Mr. Tack square in the forehead. He went down like a sack of potatoes. "Ace," Mr. O cheered, clapping his hands. "Bravo, Shade, bravo." He walked over to the unconscious Mr. Tack and nudged him with his foot. "Pathetic." He turned to Shade. She was trembling, the racket slipping from her sweaty grip. She felt sick. She had just hurt someone because he told her to. "You see," Mr. O said, walking back to her. He wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "You can do anything I tell you to. You just need the right motivation." He leaned in and kissed her forehead. It was a cold, dry kiss. "Go clean up," he said. "We have a gala tonight. You need to look your best. You are going to be the star of the show." Shade watched him walk away. She looked at Mr. Tack, who was groaning and holding his head. She wanted to help him, but Mrs. Kim was already there, grabbing her arm. "Come," Mrs. Kim said. "No time for pity." Shade let herself be dragged away. She looked at her hands. They felt dirty again. No amount of scrubbing would wash this away. She was becoming his monster, and it was only day 1. The water in the tub was colder this time. Mrs. Kim didn't bother with the warm, lavender-scented steam. She scrubbed Shade with a rough efficiency, like she was washing a dirty dish. Shade sat there, shivering, her knees pulled up to her chest. She didn't complain. She had learned that complaining only made Mrs. Kim scrub harder. "Tonight is important," Mrs. Kim grunted, rinsing soap from Shade's hair. "The master is showing you to his partners. If you embarrass him, you will wish you were back in that diner." "I won't embarrass him," Shade whispered. "Speak up," Mrs. Kim snapped. "Or don't speak at all. Actually, don't speak at all. That is the rule for tonight. Silence. You are a statue, a pretty thing to look at." Shade nodded. She could do silence. Silence was safe. After the bath, Mrs. Kim led her to the dressing room. On the mannequin stood a dress that made Shade gasp. It was gold. Not yellow, but true metallic gold. It was made of thousands of tiny sequins that looked like scales. It was strapless, with a long train that pooled on the floor like liquid metal. "Put it on," Mrs. Kim said. Shade stepped into the dress. It was heavy. It hugged every curve of her body, tight enough to restrict her breathing but loose enough to allow her to walk. Mrs. Kim zipped it up. ZZZZZT. The sound was final. Then came the jewelry, a diamond choker that fit snugly around her neck. It felt heavy, cold, and restrictive, like a collar. "Sit," Mrs. Kim pointed to the chair. The makeup was heavier tonight, dark, smoky eyes, lips painted a deep blood red. Mrs. Kim sprayed hairspray until the air tasted like chemicals. When she was done, Shade looked in the mirror. She didn't look human. She looked like a golden idol, a prize to be won. "He is waiting," Mrs. Kim said. Shade stood up. Her heels were 5 inches high. She had to walk carefully to keep her balance. Click, click, click. The sound of her steps echoed in the hallway. Mr. O was waiting in the foyer. He wore a tuxedo that fit him perfectly. He looked handsome in a cruel, sharp way. When he saw Shade, he stopped adjusting his cuffs. He went still. His eyes traveled up her body, from the gold hem of her dress to the diamond collar at her throat. He didn't smile. Didn't compliment her. He just nodded, a look of intense possession in his eyes. "Adequate," he said. He walked over to her and held out his arm. "Take it and remember, tonight you are not Shade, you are the muse. You do not speak, you do not smile, you do not cry, you exist to be beautiful. Do you understand?" Shade looked at him. She wanted to scream. She wanted to rip the diamonds off her neck and run, but she thought of the painting, she thought of the contract. She nodded once. Slowly. "Good," Mr. O said. "Let's go." "Stop. Before Shade steps into the lion's den of the gala, I need to ask you something important. This is the moment where everything changes. Shade is being put on display in front of the most dangerous people in the city. If you are rooting for her to survive this night without breaking, smash that like button right now. It helps the channel grow and tells me you want more of this story. I have a serious question for you. If you were in Shade's shoes, would you be able to stay silent while people treated you like an object? Or would you snap? Let me know in the comments. And listen, I'm not joking about the support. This story is intense, and writing it takes a toll. YouTube doesn't pay for dark romance like this anymore. If you want me to finish this 10,000-word saga, please join the Timeless K-Love membership on Gumroad or buy me a coffee. The link is in the pinned comment. Think about it. Shade is walking into a room full of sharks with only her silence as a shield. Don't let her walk alone. Support the channel and let's see if she can make it through the night. The car ride was silent. Shade stared out the window, watching the city lights blur into streaks of neon. She felt like she was going to a funeral, her own. The car stopped in front of a massive glass building, the Museum of Modern Art. There were photographers everywhere, their flashbulbs popping like lightning storms. Red carpet, velvet ropes, security guards with earpieces. The driver opened the door. The noise of the crowd rushed in, shouting, clicking cameras, the hum of traffic. Mr. O stepped out. He buttoned his jacket and turned to help her. His hand was firm on her elbow. "Chin up," he whispered. "Eyes forward, you are above them." Shade stepped onto the red carpet. The flashes were blinding. Flash, flash, flash. "Mr. O, over here. Who is the girl? Is that the new collection?" They shouted questions, but Mr. O ignored them all. He walked with a deadly grace, guiding Shade through the gauntlet. Shade felt like a deer caught in headlights. She kept her chin up, just like he said. She fixed her eyes on the door and didn't look left or right. Her heart was hammering against her ribs so hard she thought the sequins on her dress would shake. They entered the museum. It was quieter inside, but the air was thick with tension. Waiters in white jackets moved through the crowd with trays of champagne. The guests were the same kind of people Shade had seen at the auction house, only richer. More jewelry, more fake smiles. Mr. O led her into the main hall. A hush fell over the room as they entered. People turned to stare. Shade felt their eyes on her skin like insects. They weren't looking at her like a person. They were looking at her like she was the painting on the wall. "Ka Young-min," a voice called out. A man walked toward them. He was short, round, and sweating profusely despite the cool air conditioning. He held a cigar in one hand and a drink in the other. "Chairman Lee," Mr. O said. His voice was polite, but his eyes were cold. "I didn't think you'd make it," Chairman Lee said, his gaze immediately dropping to Shade. He looked her up and down, licking his lips. It was disgusting. "And who is this, a new girlfriend?" "This is the muse," Mr. O said. "She is not a girlfriend, she is part of the collection." "The collection?" Chairman Lee laughed. He reached out a hand to touch Shade's arm. Shade flinched. She couldn't help it. It was a tiny movement, just a recoil of her muscles, but Mr. O felt it. His grip on her elbow tightened painfully. Do not touch the exhibits, Chairman, Mr. O said softly. He didn't shout, but the threat was clear. Chairman Lee froze. He pulled his hand back, looking offended. Just looking, Kyung-min, just looking. Is she functional? Shade felt bile rise in her throat. Functional, like a machine. She is decorative, Mr. O said. And she is very expensive. Now, if you'll excuse us. Mr. O steered her away, moving deeper into the room. He leaned close to her ear. You flinched, he hissed. I told you to be still. He was going to touch me, Shade whispered, barely moving her lips. So, Mr. O said, let him touch. You are mine. His touch means nothing. It is like a fly landing on a window. You do not react to flies. Shade bit the inside of her cheek to keep from crying. She wasn't a window. She was a person. But tonight, in this dress with this collar, she didn't feel like one. They circulated the room for an hour. Mr. O introduced her to bankers, politicians, and other collectors. He never used her name, just the muse. He talked about her like she wasn't there. Found her in a gutter, practically. Restored her myself. The obedience is the hardest part to train, but she is learning. Shade stood there, her feet throbbing in the high heels, her back aching from holding herself so straight. She fixed her eyes on a point in the distance, a large abstract painting of a black square. She stared at the blackness and tried to disappear into it. Mr. O, a woman's voice cut through the chatter. Shade looked down. A woman in a red silk dress was standing in front of them. She was beautiful, with sharp features and cat-like eyes. She looked dangerous. Veronica, Mr. O said. He sounded bored. I heard you bought Blue Sunday, the woman, Veronica, said. She swirled her martini. I wanted that piece. You were too slow, Mr. O said. Veronica's eyes flicked to Shade. She didn't look lustful like the men. She looked hateful, jealous. And this must be the price you paid, Veronica sneered. She looks cheap. Gold sequins, a bit tacky, don't you think? Shade felt a spark of anger. Cheap. This dress probably cost more than Shade made in a year. She is exquisite, Mr. O said, his voice dropping an octave. Because she is silent, unlike some women I know. Veronica's face turned red. She took a step closer to Shade. Is she really silent, or is she just stupid? Hello, can you talk, girl? Shade stared at her. Don't speak, don't speak. See, Veronica laughed. Brainless, just a pretty shell. She reached out and flicked the diamond choker on Shade's neck. Tink. Nice collar, though, Veronica said. Make sure you keep the leash tight. Kyung-min, strays like to run. Mr. O smiled. It was the scariest smile Shade had ever seen. She won't run. She knows what happens if she runs. He looked at Shade. Show her. Shade froze. Show her what, she thought. Turn, Mr. O commanded. Shade turned around slowly. The back of the dress was cut low, all the way to the base of her spine. Her skin was exposed. Look, Mr. O said to Veronica. Shade felt a finger trace her spine. It was Veronica. Her nail was sharp. Flawless, Veronica murmured, her tone changing from mockery to grudging admiration. Not a mark on her. Not yet, Mr. O said. He turned Shade back around. Now leave us, Veronica. You are boring me. Veronica glared at him, then at Shade. She turned and stormed off, her red dress swishing angrily. Shade let out a breath she had been holding. Her legs were shaking. She felt like she was going to faint. You did well, Mr. O said quietly. You didn't speak. I am pleased. He signaled to a waiter. Water, no ice. The waiter brought a glass. Mr. O held it to Shade's lips. Drink. Shade drank. She was parched. The water was cool and soothing. We have one more stop, Mr. O said. The private viewing room. The real auction happens there. Real auction? Shade asked, forgetting the rule for a second. Mr. O's eyes narrowed. I said silence. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward a set of double doors at the back of the museum. 2 large guards stood in front of them. They nodded at Mr. O and opened the doors. The room inside was dark, lit only by spotlights focused on tables. There were no paintings here. There were weapons, illegal artifacts, drugs, and people. About 20 men sat around a large circular table. The air was thick with cigar smoke. When Mr. O entered, they all looked up. Kyung-min, a man at the head of the table shouted. You brought her. It was the man from the tennis court, Mr. Tak. He had a bandage on his forehead where Shade had hit him with the ball. Shade's stomach dropped. Mr. O walked to the table. He pulled out a chair, but not for Shade. He sat down. He left Shade standing behind him. Gentlemen, Mr. O said, this is the muse. The men murmured. They looked at her like hungry wolves. She hit me, Mr. Tak said, pointing at his bandage. She has a temper. I like a temper, another man said. He was old, with skin like parchment paper. It makes breaking them more fun. She is not for sale, Mr. O said, placing his hand on the table. She is my personal assistant, however. He paused. Shade held her breath. However what? I am willing to bet her, Mr. O said. The room went silent. Bet her, Mr. Tak asked. On what? A game of cards, Mr. O said. Poker, Texas Hold'em, high stakes. What is the buy-in? The old man asked. $1 million, Mr. O said, and if I lose, the winner gets the girl for one night. Shade felt the blood drain from her face. One night with one of these monsters. And if you win? Mr. Tack asked. If I win, Mr. O smiled. I get your shipping routes in the Pacific and Mr. Tack gets to apologize to my muse. Apologize? Mr. Tack scoffed. For what? For being an easy target, Mr. O said. The men laughed. It was a cruel, guttural sound. Deal, the old man said. I haven't had a new toy in years. Deal, Mr. Tack said, rubbing his bandaged head. I want to see her cry. Mr. O turned his chair slightly so he could look at Shade. Stand behind me, he said. Be my luck. If I lose, you go with them. If I win, you come home with me. Do not move, do not speak. Pray that I have good cards. Shade walked behind his chair. She felt like she was in a nightmare. She was the pot, she was the chips. Her body, her safety, her dignity, all of it was sitting on a table covered in green felt. The dealer shuffled the cards. Zip, zip, zip. Mr. O didn't look nervous. He looked excited. He loved this. He loved the risk. He loved the control. The cards were dealt. Mr. O picked up his hand. He didn't show any emotion. He just glanced at Shade over his shoulder. Are you praying, Shade? He whispered. Shade closed her eyes. Please, she thought. Please don't let him lose. The game began. Chips clattered. Smoke swirled. Shade stood there in her golden dress, a statue made of fear and sequins, waiting to see who would own her for the night. Mr. O played aggressively. He raised. He bluffed. He pushed piles of chips into the center. The pot grew bigger and bigger. Finally, it was down to two players, Mr. O and the old man with the parchment skin. The board showed a king, a 10, a 7, and two aces. All in, the old man said, pushing his tower of chips forward. He looked at Shade and licked his dry lips. Get your coat, girl, you're coming with me. Mr. O looked at his cards. He looked at the old man. He looked at Shade. Call, Mr. O said. The old man slammed his cards down. Full house, aces over sevens. The room gasped. That was a monster hand. Shade's knees buckled. She was going to be sick. Mr. O didn't move. He slowly flipped his cards over. 4 of a kind, he said softly. 4 kings. The room erupted. Mr. O had won. Shade let out a sob. She couldn't help it. The relief washed over her so hard she almost fell. Mr. O stood up. He raked the chips toward him. Then he turned to the old man. Thank you for the game, he said. He turned to Shade. He grabbed her face in his hands. His fingers dug into her cheeks. You doubted me, he whispered. I saw it in your eyes. You thought I would lose you. I was scared, Shade wept. Good, Mr. O said. Fear keeps you sharp. He turned to Mr. Tack. Now the apology. Mr. Tack stood up slowly. He looked furious. But a deal was a deal in this world. Breaking it meant death. He walked over to Shade. He glared at her. I'm sorry, he muttered. Louder, Mr. O said. And on your knees. Mr. Tack turned red. You go too far, O. On your knees. Mr. O's voice was like a gunshot. 2 of Mr. O's guards stepped forward from the shadows. Mr. Tack saw them. He swallowed his pride. He sank to his knees in front of Shade. He looked up at her, hate burning in his eyes. I apologize, he spat. Accept it, Mr. O told Shade. I accept it, Shade whispered. Good, Mr. O said. Now kiss her hand. What? Mr. Tack asked. Kiss the hand that hit you, Mr. O said. Show her respect. She's my muse. She's worth more than your life. Mr. Tack took Shade's trembling hand. His lips were wet and cold. He kissed her knuckles. Shade wanted to wipe her hand on her dress, but she stood still. Done, Mr. O said. Gentlemen, a pleasure. He grabbed Shade's hand and pulled her toward the door. They walked out of the smoke-filled room, leaving the angry men behind. Back in the car, the adrenaline crashed. Shade started to shake uncontrollably. Her teeth chattered. Mr. O pulled her into his arms. He held her tight. It wasn't a comforting hug. It was a victory hug. He was celebrating his win. You were perfect, he murmured into her hair. My golden luck, my beautiful doll. Shade rested her head against his chest. She hated him. She hated him so much it burned. But tonight he was the only thing standing between her and the wolves. We are going home, he said. And tonight. Tonight you sleep in my room. Shade froze. Your room? You are the winner's prize, Mr. O said, stroking her hair. And I won. The car sped into the darkness. Shade looked out at the moon. It looked like a coin. A silver piece of currency in a sky that had been bought and sold. The door to the master bedroom clicked shut, sealing out the rest of the house. The room was massive. The walls were painted a dark charcoal gray, and the furniture was heavy black wood. It didn't look like a place where people slept. It looked like a tomb. Shade stood in the center of the room, her golden dress shimmering in the dim light. She was shivering, but not from the cold. She was shivering because she was alone with him. The man who had just bet her life on a card game. Mr. O took off his jacket and threw it on a chair. He loosened his tie. He didn't look at her immediately. He walked to a small table and poured himself another drink. He took a long sip, then turned around. Come here, he said. Shade walked to him. Her legs felt heavy. She stopped a few feet away. Closer, he ordered. She took another step. She was close enough to smell the whiskey and the smoke on his clothes. Turn around, he said. Shade turned. She felt his cold fingers on her neck brushing against the diamond choker. Then she heard the sound of the zipper sliding down. ZZZZZZT. The dress loosened. The heavy sequins fell away from her skin. Step out of it, he whispered. Shade let the dress fall to the floor. She stepped out of the pool of gold. She stood there in her underwear, feeling naked and small. Mr. O walked around to face her. He looked at her body, his eyes tracing every curve, every shadow. He didn't touch her, he just looked. It was worse than being touched. It felt like he was memorizing her, owning her with his eyes. You are beautiful, he said, his voice void of any warmth. But you are shaking, dolls do not shake. I'm cold, Shade lied. You are scared, Mr. O corrected. Good. Fear makes you obedient. He went to his dresser and pulled out a long, white silk shirt. He handed it to her. Put this on. Shade put on the shirt. It was huge on her, swallowing her hands. It smelled like him. Get in the bed, he pointed. Shade climbed into the massive bed. The sheets were black silk, cool and slippery. She lay on the edge, as far away from the center as possible. Mr. O turned off the lights. The room plunged into darkness. Shade heard him moving, the rustle of clothes, the sound of the bed dipping as he got in. He didn't stay on his side. He reached out and pulled her toward him. His arm was heavy across her waist. He pulled her back against his chest. Sleep, he commanded. Shade lay there, her eyes wide open in the dark. She could feel his heart beating against her back, slow, steady. He wasn't scared. He wasn't nervous. He was the monster who slept soundly while his victim lay awake. Good night, master, she whispered, hoping it would make him happy so he wouldn't hurt her. Good night, Muse, he murmured. Within minutes, his breathing deepened. He was asleep. Shade lay frozen, tears sliding silently down her nose onto the black pillowcase. She was a doll in his bed, a trophy on his shelf, and she had never felt more alone in her life. Stop, I need you to pause right here. Shade is lying in the dark, trapped in the arms of a man who views her as property. The tension is suffocating. If you're feeling the fear for Shade right now, please hit that like button. It helps this story reach more people who love dark, twisted romances. I have a question for you. Do you think Shade can survive a whole year of this without losing her mind? Or will she break? Rate her chances of survival from 1 to 10 in the comments. And listen, I have to be real with you. Writing this story is emotionally draining. It takes a lot to go to these dark places. Since YouTube has demonetized the channel, I rely 100% on you guys. If you want to see Shade fight back, if you want to see her reclaim her life, you need to support the channel. Click the link in the pinned comment to join the Timeless K-Love membership on Gumroad or buy me a coffee. For the price of a cup of coffee, you keep the lights on. You keep the stories coming. If you don't support, the story might have to end here, with Shade trapped in the dark forever. Don't let that happen. Click the link, support the channel. Let's get Shade out of this bed and into the fight. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into a month. Life in the mansion was a blur of silence and rules. Shade lost track of the days. She only knew the routine. Wake up, bath, dress, paint, sit. Every morning, Mrs. Kim scrubbed her. Every morning, she was put into a new outfit. Sometimes it was a vintage ball gown. Sometimes it was a kimono. Sometimes it was a modern, architectural dress that made it hard to sit down. She was displayed. Mr. O took her to auctions, to dinners, to the opera. She sat beside him, silent and still. People stared, they whispered. Look at Kyung Min's new doll. Is she real? I heard he won her in a card game. Shade learned to tune them out. She learned to fix her eyes on a spot on the wall and go somewhere else in her head. She thought about the diner. She thought about the smell of coffee and burnt toast. Thought about her mom's laugh. But memories were dangerous. If she smiled at a memory, Mr. O noticed. Why are you smiling? He would ask, his voice sharp. Dolls do not have secrets. So she learned to be blank, empty. The only time she felt real was in the mornings when Mr. O was at work and Mrs. Kim was busy in the kitchen. Shade was allowed 1 hour of fresh air in the garden. It was for her health, Mr. O said. Pale skin was good, but sick skin was not. The garden was beautiful. High hedges, white roses, a fountain with a stone angel crying water into a pool. Shade sat on a bench watching the water. Miss, Shade jumped. She turned around. It was Leo, the gardener. He was holding a pair of shears. He looked around nervously to make sure no one was watching. Leo, Shade whispered. You shouldn't talk to me. Mrs. Kim will see. She's in the basement, Leo said, stepping closer. Checking the wine inventory, I brought you something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, red strawberry. It was tiny and imperfect, with a bit of dirt still on it. It's from the wild patch behind the shed, Leo said, a shy smile on his face. It's sweet, not like the fancy food they give you inside. Shade looked at the strawberry. It was the most beautiful thing she had seen in weeks. It was real. It wasn't polished or cooked or arranged on a silver platter. She took it. Her fingers brushed his. His hand was warm and rough. "Thank you," she said. She popped the strawberry into her mouth. It exploded with flavor, sweet, tart, earthy. It tasted like freedom. "Shade," Leo said, his voice low. "You can't stay here. It's not right. What he's doing to you. It's sick." "I signed a contract," Shade said, swallowing the fruit. "A contract?" Leo scoffed. "With the devil, that doesn't count. Listen, my cousin, he's a cop in the city, a good cop. If I can get you to a phone, we can call him. He can get you out." Shade's heart raced. A cop escape. She thought about running. She thought about being back in her apartment, wearing sweatpants, eating pizza. But then she thought about the painting. Blue Sunday was hanging in Mr. O's study. If she left, he would burn it. He promised, and Mr. O never broke a promise. "I can't," Shade said, tears filling her eyes. "He has something of mine, something I can't lose." "Is it worth your life?" Leo asked, his eyes intense. "Because you're disappearing, Shade. Every day you look a little less like a person and a little more like one of them." He pointed to the house. Shade looked down at her hands. He was right. She was fading. "I have to stay," she whispered. "Just be my friend, Leo. Please just talk to me sometimes. Remind me that I'm real." Leo looked at her with sadness. He nodded. "Okay, I'll be your friend, but if you ever change your mind." "Leo," a harsh voice shouted from the patio. They both froze. It was Mrs. Kim. Was standing at the top of the steps, glaring at them. "Get back to work," she yelled at Leo. "And you girl inside, now." Leo scrambled away, disappearing behind the hedges. Shade stood up and walked toward the house. Her heart was pounding. Had Mrs. Kim heard them? Mrs. Kim grabbed Shade's arm as she reached the door. Her grip was like iron. "What did he say to you?" Mrs. Kim demanded. "Nothing," Shade said, trying to keep her voice steady. "He just asked me to move so he could trim the bush." Mrs. Kim narrowed her eyes. She sniffed the air near Shade's face. "You smell like dirt," Mrs. Kim said, "and strawberries." Shade held her breath. "Go to your room," Mrs. Kim shoved her. "The master will be home early today. He has a surprise." Shade stumbled up the stairs. A surprise. Mr. O's surprises were never good. She went to her room, the nursery room with the bars. She sat on the bed and waited. Hours passed. The sun went down. The house grew quiet. Then she heard footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. The door opened. Mr. O stood there. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing black pants and a black turtleneck. He looked like a cat burglar or an executioner. He was holding something behind his back. "Hello, Shade," he said. "Hello, master," Shade said automatically. He walked into the room. He looked around. He looked at the bed. He looked at the window. "I heard you made a friend today," he said softly. Shade's blood ran cold. Mrs. Kim told him. I didn't," Shade stammered. "It was just the gardener. He was working." Mr. O smiled. It was a sad, disappointed smile. "Lying is a bad habit, Shade," he said. "Dolls should be honest." He brought his hand out from behind his back. He was holding a plant, a strawberry plant. It had been ripped out of the ground by the roots. Dirt fell onto the pristine white carpet. "Leo likes to grow things," Mr. O said, examining the wilting leaves. "But weeds must be pulled." "Where is he?" Shade whispered, standing up. "What did you do to him?" "He has been dismissed," Mr. O said. He dropped the plant on the floor and crushed it with his boot. "He won't be coming back." "Did you hurt him?" Shade cried out. "He didn't do anything. He just gave me a strawberry." "He touched you," Mr. O's voice turned hard. "He looked at you. You are mine, Shade. No one else gets to look at you like that. No one else gets to feed you." He walked over to her. He grabbed her chin. "You need to learn a lesson," he said. "You are too loose, too human. We need to tighten the strings." "Please," Shade begged, "don't." "Come with me," he said. He dragged her out of the room. He didn't take her to the bedroom. He took her down the hall to a door she had never seen open. He took a key from his pocket and unlocked it. The room was freezing. The air conditioner was on full blast. Shade looked inside and gasped. It was a showroom, but not for paintings, for dolls. Life-sized dolls stood on pedestals. They were incredibly realistic. Some were dressed as ballerinas, some as queens, some as maids. But as Shade looked closer, she realized something terrifying. They weren't just dolls. One of them, a girl in a blue dress, had a small scar on her knee. Another one had a birthmark on her neck. What are these?" Shade whispered, backing away. "My previous collection," Mr. O said, walking among them. He stroked the hair of the ballerina. "They were all like you once. Beautiful, defiant, but they all broke. They all tried to leave." He turned to Shade. "So I kept them, in a way. Are they dead?" Shade asked, her voice shaking so hard she could barely speak. "Wax," Mr. O said. "Just wax figures, Shade, modeled after them. The real girls, they left. They broke their contracts. They went back to their sad little lives, but I kept their perfection here, where it can never age, never leave, never lie." He stopped in front of an empty pedestal. Had a gold plaque on it. Shade read the name on the plaque. Shade, the Muse. "This is your spot," Mr. O said. "One day when you leave me, I will put your likeness here, and I will come and talk to it, and it will never talk back. It will never eat strawberries with the gardener." He looked at her with a twisted, lonely longing. "But I prefer the real thing," he said. "For now." He grabbed her hand. "Tonight you sleep here." "Here," Shade screamed. "With them? No, please, I'll be good, I promise." "You need to think about what you are," Mr. O said calmly. "Are you a person, or are you mine?" "I'm yours," Shade sobbed. "I'm yours." "Then stay here with your sisters," Mr. O said, "and learn silence." He walked out. The heavy door slammed shut, the lock clicked. Shade was alone in the freezing room. She looked around at the glass eyes of the dolls. They seemed to be watching her, mocking her. "We were you," they seemed to say, "and you will be us." Shade sank to the floor, curling into a ball to keep warm. She was trapped in a mausoleum of lost girls. And for the first time, she wondered if Leo was right. Maybe the painting wasn't worth this. Maybe her mother would hate this. But then she looked at the empty pedestal. Shade, the muse. He was planning to keep her forever, one way or another. She wiped her tears. Her fear was turning into something else, something cold and hard like the wax figures around her. If he wanted a doll, she would give him a doll. But dolls could be creepy. Dolls could be haunted. And sometimes, dolls could kill. She stared at the empty pedestal. "I'm not going to end up like you," she whispered to the ballerina. She closed her eyes. She didn't sleep. She plotted. The sun rose, casting long, pale beams of light across the frozen faces of the wax dolls. Shade hadn't slept. She had spent the entire night staring at them, memorizing their features, the sad curve of a lip, the fear captured in a glass eye, the scar on the knee of the girl in blue. They were warnings. But they were also maps. They showed her exactly what happened when you fought Mr. O with tears and screaming. You ended up here. Frozen, replaced. Shade stood up. Her legs were stiff and her body ached from the hard floor. She smoothed down her dress. She fixed her hair, using her spit to tame the flyaways. She pinched her cheeks to make them pink. She went to her pedestal, the empty one marked Shade, the muse, and she climbed onto it. She struck a pose. One hand on her hip, the other resting elegantly on her collarbone. She stared straight ahead, unblinking. She slowed her breathing. In, out, she became the doll. At 7:00 a.m. sharp, the lock clicked. Click, clack, the heavy door swung open. Mr. O stood there, holding a cup of coffee. He looked fresh, rested, and cruel. He expected to find a weeping mess. He expected her to be begging on her knees for forgiveness. He took a step inside and stopped. He looked around the room. He didn't see her on the floor. He looked up. Shade was standing on the pedestal, perfectly still. She didn't look at him. She looked through him. She didn't flinch when the door opened. She didn't breathe visibly. Mr. O walked slowly toward her. The sound of his boots on the concrete was loud in the silence. He stopped right in front of her pedestal. He looked up at her face. "Shade," he whispered. She didn't answer. She didn't blink. He reached out and touched her ankle. His hand was warm. "I asked you a question," he said, his voice testing her. Shade slowly turned her head, not like a human, but with the mechanical grace of a clockwork toy. She looked down at him. Her eyes were empty. "Good morning, Master," she said. Her voice was flat, smooth, devoid of emotion. Mr. O's eyes widened. He looked surprised then, delighted. A slow smile spread across his face. It wasn't the scary smile from before. It was the smile of a man who had just discovered gold in his backyard. "You learned," he breathed. "I am the muse," Shade said. "The muse is silent, the muse is still, the muse belongs to the collection." Mr. O set his coffee down on a workbench. He reached up and grabbed her waist, lifting her down from the pedestal. He held her close, searching her face for a crack in the mask. "Are you broken?" he asked softly. "I am fixed," Shade replied. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a genuine sound of triumph. "Yes," he said. "Yes, you are Mrs. Kim," he shouted for the housekeeper. Mrs. Kim appeared in the doorway a moment later, looking grumpy. "Get her ready," Mr. O commanded, pushing Shade toward her. "The best dress, the diamonds, we are going out." "Out, sir?" Mrs. Kim asked, looking at Shade suspiciously. "Is she ready?" "She is perfect," Mr. O said. He looked at Shade with a hunger that made her stomach turn, but she didn't show it. "She is finally perfect." Wait, stop right there. Shade just made a terrifying choice. She decided to stop fighting and start playing the game. She's becoming the monster's perfect doll to survive. If you are loving this psychological twist, smash that like button right now. It tells the algorithm that you want more complex, dark stories like this one. I have a question for you. Do you think Shade is faking it well enough to fool Mr. O forever, or will she slip up? Type, "She's got this," or "He's gonna catch her" in the comments. And look, I need to be serious with you. YouTube has completely demonetized this channel because of the mature themes. I am writing this for free right now. If you want to see the ending of this story, if you want to see if Shade can actually escape or if she gets trapped in this role forever, you need to support the Timeless K-Love membership. Click the link in the pinned comment to join the Gumroad membership or buy me a coffee. It costs less than a sandwich, but it keeps this channel alive. If you don't support, I can't write. And Shade stays a doll forever. Don't let her story end in silence. Click the link, help her fight back. Mrs. Kim didn't buy it. As she scrubbed Shade in the tub, she muttered to herself. She scrubbed harder than usual, as if trying to wash away the act Shade was putting on. You think you are clever, Mrs. Kim grunted, pouring water over Shade's head. I have seen girls like you before. You think if you act like a robot, he will trust you. You think you can trick him. Shade sat still. She didn't wipe the water from her eyes. I don't think anything, Shade said monotonously. I only obey. Mrs. Kim stopped scrubbing. She looked at Shade. We will see. The eyes always tell the truth, and your eyes, they are too sharp. She dressed Shade in a suit this time. A white silk power suit with a deep V-neck and wide-legged pants. It was modern, expensive, and severe. Slicked Shade's hair back with gel, making it look wet and hard. Go, Mrs. Kim pushed her out the door. Mr. O was waiting in the car. When Shade slid in, he didn't grab her or threaten her. He handed her a file folder. Read this, he said. Shade opened it. It was a dossier on a man named Sergei Volkov, Russian mafia arms dealer. What is this? Shade asked. Tonight's business, Mr. O said. We are meeting him at the docks. He is selling a collection of Faberge eggs. I want them. Why show me? Shade asked. Because, Mr. O looked at her, his eyes dark. You are my luck, and Volkov, he likes pretty things. You will distract him. Distract him how? By existing, Mr. O said. Sit there, look beautiful, let him look at you. If he is looking at you, he is not looking at the fine print of the contract. Shade nodded. Yes, master. They drove to the docks in Brooklyn. It was a different world from the gala. Shipping containers were stacked like metal skyscrapers. Fog rolled off the water, thick and gray. The car stopped. The driver, a new man since the last one was fired, opened the door. Mr. O stepped out. He checked his gun in his holster. Shade saw it. A black pistol, shiny and lethal. Stay close, he said. They walked toward a warehouse. 4 men were waiting. They were big, wearing leather jackets and smoking cigarettes. In the center was a man with a gold tooth and a scar running through his eyebrow. Sergei Volkov. Kyung-min, Volkov grinned, spreading his arms. Korean friend. Sergei, Mr. O nodded. He didn't smile. And who is this? Volkov asked, his eyes immediately landing on Shade. You bring a secretary to a gunfight. She is my assistant, Mr. O said. And we are not here for a gunfight. We are here for eggs. Volkov laughed. Of course, the eggs. He motioned to one of his men. The man placed a metal case on a rusty barrel. He opened it. Inside, resting on velvet, were 3 jeweled eggs. They glittered in the dim warehouse light. Mr. O stepped forward. He put on a jeweler's loupe and examined them. Shade stood by his side, her hands clasped behind her back. She stared straight ahead, but she was watching everything. She saw the way Volkov's men were shifting their weight. She saw the bulges under their jackets. They weren't here to sell. They were here to take Mr. O's money and kill him. Fake, Mr. O said, straightening up. The atmosphere in the warehouse snapped like a dry twig. Excuse me, Volkov said, his smile dropping. The enamel is wrong, Mr. O said calmly. The date stamp is 1918. Faberge stopped production in 1917. These are good fakes, Sergei, but they are fakes. He closed the case. I am disappointed. I thought we had a relationship. We do, Volkov said. He pulled a gun from his waistband. A very short one. Down, Mr. O shouted. He shoved Shade behind a stack of crates just as the shooting started. Bang, 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 bullets sparked against the metal containers. The sound was deafening. Shade covered her ears, curling into a ball. Mr. O was firing back, his face a mask of concentration. Stay here, he yelled at her. He popped up and fired 2 shots. One of Volkov's men fell, but there were too many of them. Volkov and 2 others were flanking them. They were pinned down. Give me the money, O, Volkov shouted. And maybe I let you keep the girl, Mr. O looked at his magazine. I'm out, he cursed. He reached for his spare clip, but it slipped from his hand and slid across the floor out of reach. He looked at Shade. For the first time, she saw fear in his eyes, not for himself, but for his possession. When I run, he whispered to her, you run the other way, run to the car. What about you? Shade asked. I will buy you time, he said. Go. He was going to sacrifice himself. For her, for a doll, Mr. O took a breath and prepared to stand up, empty gun in hand, to draw their fire. Shade saw the spare clip on the floor. It was 5 feet away. In the open, she looked at Mr. O. If he died, she was free. She could run, she could disappear, but Volkov wouldn't let her go. He would take her. And Volkov looked like a man who broke his toys quickly. And the painting. If Mr. O died here, his estate would be seized. The painting would be lost in the system or stolen. Shade made a choice. She didn't run away, she dove. Shade, no, Mr. O screamed. She slid across the dirty concrete floor. Bullets pinged around her. Zing, zing. She grabbed the magazine, she rolled onto her back and slid it back toward Mr. O. He caught it. He slammed it into his gun. Click-clack, he stood up and fired. Bam, bam, 2 shots. 2 bodies hit the floor. Volkov was the only one left. He turned to run, but Mr. O was faster. He shot Volkov in the leg. The Russian man crumbled, screaming. Silence fell over the warehouse. The only sound was Volkov's moans and the distant wail of sirens. Mr. O didn't look at Volkov, he looked at Shade. She was lying on the floor. Her white suit was ruined, covered in black grease and dirt. Her knee was bleeding where she had scraped it. He walked over to her. He dropped his gun. He fell to his knees and pulled her up. "You," he gasped. "You stupid, foolish girl, you could have been killed." "You needed ammo," Shade said. Her voice wasn't robotic anymore, it was shaky. Adrenaline was crashing through her veins. "You saved me," Mr. O said. He looked shocked. He touched her face, his fingers smearing dirt on her cheek. "Why, you could have run." "I told you," Shade whispered, looking into his dark eyes. "I am yours, you are the master. Without you, I am nothing." It was a lie, a beautiful, dangerous lie. But in that moment, with the smell of gunpowder in the air and death all around them, Mr. O believed it. He crushed her to his chest. He buried his face in her neck. He was shaking. "Mine," he growled. "You are truly mine." He picked her up in his arms like a bride. He carried her past the dead bodies, past the fake eggs. "Burn it all," he told his driver, who had finally arrived with backup. "Leave nothing." He put Shade in the back of the car. He got in beside her. He didn't care about the blood on her knee or the grease on his suit. He kissed her. It wasn't a cold kiss like before. It was desperate, hungry. It tasted like violence and survival. Shade didn't pull away. She kissed him back, not because she loved him, but because she needed him to trust her completely. She needed him to think he had one, because the only way to destroy a monster from the inside was to let him swallow you whole. That night, everything changed. Mr. O didn't send her to the East Wing. He didn't put her in the guest room. He took her to his private studio. The one room no one was allowed to enter. He unlocked the door. Inside, it smelled of oil paint and turpentine. It smelled like home. "You said you were an art student," Mr. O said. He stood by the door, watching her. "Yes," Shade said. "Paint," he said. "What?" Shade asked. "Paint," he repeated. "I want to see you create. I want to see what is inside that head of yours." He pointed to a blank canvas on an easel. There were paints, brushes, everything she needed. Shade walked to the easel. She picked up a brush. Her hand was trembling. She hadn't painted since her mother died. "What should I paint?" she asked. "Me," Mr. O said. He walked to a velvet chair and sat down. He didn't pose. He just sat there, watching her with that intense, burning gaze. "Paint me as you see me," he said. Shade looked at him. She saw a handsome man in a ruined suit. She saw a killer. She saw a lonely boy who collected dolls because he was afraid of real people. She saw a tyrant. She dipped the brush in red paint. She painted for hours. Mr. O didn't move. He didn't speak. He just watched her hand move. When she was finished, she stepped back. "Done," she said. Mr. O stood up. He walked to the canvas. He stared at it. It wasn't a flattering portrait. It was dark. The man in the painting had a face made of shadows. His eyes were hollow pits, and behind him in the background were hundreds of tiny, screaming faces. But his hands. She had painted his hands holding a small, fragile blue bird, protecting it, crushing it. It wasn't clear. Mr. O looked at the painting for a long time. Shade held her breath. Was he angry? Would he hurt her? "Is this what I am?" he asked softly. "It is what I see," Shade said. He turned to her. He didn't look angry. He looked stripped bare. "You see the monster," he said. "And yet, you stayed. You saved the monster." He reached out and took her paint-stained hand. "I have never let anyone paint me," he said. "I have never let anyone see me." He kissed her palm. "Ask for something," he said. "Anything, a reward for today." Shade's heart hammered. This was it, the moment. "I want to see my mother's painting," she said. "Without the glass, without the case, I want to hold it." Mr. O hesitated. That painting was his most prized possession, but he looked at Shade. He looked at the grease on her suit from when she slid across the warehouse floor for him. "Okay," he said. He led her to the vault in the basement. The steel door was thick. He spun the dial. Left, right, left. Shade watched, memorizing the numbers. 321508. The door hissed open. Inside, Blue Sunday sat on a velvet stand. Shade walked to it. She reached out. Her fingers touched the canvas. She felt the texture of the brushstrokes. She felt her mother's hand. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Mom," she whispered. Mr. O stood in the doorway. He wasn't watching the painting. He was watching her. "It looks better with you next to it," he said. Shade turned to him. She wiped her tears. "Thank you, Master," she said. Mr. O walked in. He stood close to her. The vault was small, intimate. "You are not a doll anymore, Shade," he whispered. "You are more." "What am I?" she asked. "You are the queen," he said. "My queen of the underworld." He leaned in to kiss her, and Shade let him. But over his shoulder, her eyes were open. She was looking at the keypad on the inside of the vault door. She was looking at the ventilation shaft in the corner. She had the combination. She had his trust. She had the run of the house, Mr. O thought he had broken her. He thought he had turned her into the perfect companion. He was wrong. He hadn't created a doll. He had created a weapon. And now that weapon was inside his heart, waiting for the perfect moment to twist the knife. The game wasn't over. It was just entering the final round. The straight razor glinted under the bathroom lights. It was incredibly sharp. Shade tested the edge against her thumb, watching a thin line of white skin appear just seconds away from bleeding. Mr. O sat in the chair, his head tilted back, his throat exposed. He had a hot towel wrapped around his face moments ago, softening the bristles of his beard. Now he was waiting. "Do it," he murmured, his eyes closed. Shade stepped between his spread legs. She applied the warm shaving cream, her fingers moving in slow, circular motions over his jaw and neck. He sighed, relaxing into her touch. He trusted her. He trusted the girl he had bought, the girl he had broken, the girl who had saved his life in the warehouse. She picked up the razor again. She rested the cold steel against his jugular. One slip, one press of her wrist. That was all it would take. The monster would be gone. The debt would be paid in blood. She could feel his pulse thumping against the blade. Thump, thump, thump. It was steady, calm. "You are hesitating," Mr. O whispered. "Your hand is shaking." "I don't want to cut you," Shade said softly. "Trust your hand," he said. "You are an artist, you know lines, you know pressure. Carve me, Shade." She tightened her grip on the handle. She angled the blade, scritch. The sound of hair being severed filled the quiet room. She moved the razor down his neck over the vulnerable hollow of his throat. He didn't flinch. He didn't even open his eyes. Shade stared at the vein pulsing beneath the skin. She hated him. She hated how he made her wear these clothes. She hated how he looked at her, but she needed to get out of here alive. If she killed him now, his guards outside would storm the room. She would never make it to the gate. She finished the stroke. She wiped the blade on a towel. "Done," she said. Mr. O opened his eyes. He reached up and touched his smooth skin. He looked at her, and for a second, Shade saw something that looked like love. It was twisted and sick, but it was there. "Perfect," he said. "You have steady hands, my queen." He stood up and grabbed a towel to wipe his face. "I have to go. The meeting with the Triad is tonight. It will be dangerous. I cannot take you." "I will wait for you," Shade said. "Mrs. Kim will watch you," he said. He leaned in and kissed her forehead. "Be good. I will be back by midnight." He walked out. Shade heard his heavy footsteps fading down the hall. She heard the front door open and close. She heard the engine of the limousine roar to life and fade into the distance. She was alone with Mrs. Kim, and it was 8:00 p.m. She had 4 hours. "Stop. Put the razor down. This is the moment we have been waiting for." Shade has Mr. O's trust. She has the house to herself, mostly, and she has a plan. If you want to see Shade execute the ultimate heist and steal her life back, smash that like button right now. Let's get this video to 5,000 likes for Shade's freedom. Quick question, if you were Shade, would you have cut him, or would you stick to the plan? Type cut HIM or stick to plan in the comments. I want to see how ruthless you guys are. And listen, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Creating these stories is my passion, but passion doesn't pay the rent. This channel is demonetized. If you want to support me so I can keep writing these dark, gritty thrillers for you, please join the Timeless K-Love membership on Gumroad or buy me a coffee. The link is in the pinned comment. For less than the price of a burger, you can be a producer of this story. You can help decide what happens next. Don't let the story die here. Shade needs to escape, and I need your help to write it. Click the link. Join the family. Now let's get back to the heist. Shade waited 10 minutes to be sure he was really gone. Then she changed. She took off the silk dress he had made her wear. She went to the back of the closet where she had hidden a pair of black leggings and a dark sweater she had stolen from the laundry pile weeks ago. She put on sneakers. She looked in the mirror. She didn't look like a doll anymore. She looked like a burglar. She opened her bedroom door. The hallway was quiet. She knew Mrs. Kim's routine. At 8:15 p.m., Mrs. Kim sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea and watched the news. Shade moved silently down the stairs. She stuck to the shadows, avoiding the spots where the floorboards creaked. She had memorized every inch of this house. She reached the kitchen door. It was slightly ajar. She could hear the TV. "Weather for tonight is heavy rain." Shade peeked inside. Mrs. Kim was sitting at the table, her back to the door. A steaming mug was in front of her. Shade needed to get to the basement. The only entrance was through the kitchen pantry. She took a deep breath. She didn't have a weapon. She only had the element of surprise. She pushed the door open and walked in. Mrs. Kim spun around. Her eyes went wide when she saw Shade's clothes. "What are you doing?" Mrs. Kim snapped, standing up. "Where's your dress? Why are you wearing rags?" I'm done playing dress-up, Shade said, her voice steady. Mrs. Kim's eyes narrowed. She reached for the phone on the wall. I am calling the master. You are trying to run. Shade didn't let her. She lunged. She wasn't a fighter. She was an art student, but she was desperate. She tackled Mrs. Kim, slamming her into the counter. The phone clattered to the floor. The mug of tea shattered, splashing hot liquid everywhere. You little brat, Mrs. Kim shrieked. She was strong for an older woman. She grabbed Shade's hair and yanked. Shade screamed, tears stinging her eyes. Mrs. Kim slapped her face hard, smack. He will kill you for this, Mrs. Kim yelled. He will skin you alive. Shade kicked out, her sneaker connecting with Mrs. Kim's shin. Mrs. Kim grunted and loosened her grip. Shade grabbed the heavy ceramic teapot from the table. She didn't think, she just swung. Crack. The teapot hit Mrs. Kim on the side of the head. The woman crumbled to the floor, unconscious. Shade stood there, panting. Her hands were shaking. There was tea and blood on the floor. I'm sorry, Shade whispered. She didn't have time to feel guilty. She grabbed the keys from Mrs. Kim's belt. She dragged Mrs. Kim into the pantry and locked the door. It wouldn't hold her forever, but it would buy her time. Shade ran to the basement door. She unlocked it and ran down the stairs. The air was cool and smelled of concrete. She reached the vault. The keypad glowed green in the dark. She closed her eyes. She pictured Mr. O's fingers spinning the dial. Left, right, left, 32, 15-8. She typed the numbers into the digital pad. Beep, 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 buzz. The light turned green. The heavy bolts retracted with a loud thud. Shade pulled the heavy steel door open. She ran inside. There it was. Blue Sunday. Her mother's soul on canvas. She grabbed the painting. It was heavy in its frame, but she didn't care. She hugged it to her chest. She looked around the vault. There were stacks of cash on the shelves, stacks of gold bars. She grabbed a canvas bag from the floor. Mr. O used it to transport money. She shoved as many bundles of cash as she could fit. She didn't count it. It looked like hundreds of thousands of dollars, enough to disappear, enough to start over. She zipped the bag. She had the painting in one hand and the money in the other. She ran back up the stairs. She checked the kitchen, silence from the pantry. Mrs. Kim was still out. Shade ran to the back door. She stepped out into the night. It was raining again, just like the night she was sold. She ran to the garage. It was a separate building, 50 yards away. She slipped in the mud, scraping her hand, but she kept running. She reached the garage side door. She used Mrs. Kim's keys. Click. Inside, Mr. O's cars were lined up. The black limousine was gone, but his sports car, a sleek silver Aston Martin, was there. She looked at the key rack on the wall. The silver key fob hung there. She grabbed it. She threw her bag and the painting into the passenger seat. She jumped into the driver's seat. She had never driven a car like this. It had a push-button start. She pressed it. The engine roared to life like a beast waking up. She hit the button for the garage door. It began to rise slowly. Shade put the car in reverse. She backed out, tires screeching on the wet pavement. She spun the car around and floored it toward the main gate. The gate was closed. There was a guard booth. The guard stepped out, holding a flashlight. He saw the sports car speeding toward him. He waved his arms. Stop the car. Shade didn't stop. She flashed the headlights. The guard reached for his gun. Shade ducked her head. She aimed the car at the wooden arm of the gate. Crash, the wood splintered. The windshield cracked, a spider web of glass appearing in the corner, but it held. She was through. She was on the winding road, heading down the mountain, heading toward the city, heading toward freedom. She looked at the painting in the seat next to her. We did it, Mom, she laughed, a wild, hysterical sound. We did it! But then she looked in the rearview mirror. 2 headlights appeared behind her. They were bright, high beams, and they were moving fast. Shade pressed the gas pedal harder. The sports car surged forward. 80 miles per hour, 90. The car behind her matched her speed. Her phone, the burner phone she had stolen from Mrs. Kim's pocket, buzzed. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. She answered it and put it on speaker. Hello, she gasped. You missed a spot, Mr. O's voice came through the speakers. He sounded calm, almost bored, but there was a razor-sharp edge to his tone. Mr. O, Shade said, her heart hammered against her ribs. I told you the meeting was with the triad, he said. I lied. I was waiting at the bottom of the hill. Shade looked in the mirror again. The car was getting closer. I have the painting, she screamed. If you crash into me, you destroy it. I don't care about the painting anymore, Mr. O said. I only care about the thief. Let me go, Shade yelled. You said if I survived the year, I could go. The year isn't up, Shade, he said. And you broke the rules, you ran. I'm not a doll, she screamed. I'm a person. We will see, he said. Pull over now. No, Shade said. She saw a sharp curve coming up. The road was wet. The cliff edge was on the right. Shade, Mr. O's voice was warning now. Slow down, you can't take that corner at this speed. I'd rather die than go back to that house, she yelled. Don't be stupid, he shouted. Brake! Shade didn't brake. She turned the wheel. The car skidded. The back tires lost traction on the wet leaves. The car spun. The world became a blur of silver and black. Trees, guardrails, rain, screech. The car slammed into the guardrail, metal crunched. The airbag exploded in her face, punching the air out of her lungs. The car rocked. It was teetering on the edge, silence. Shade coughed. The car was filled with white powder from the airbag. Her head was spinning. She tasted blood. She looked to her right. The passenger door was jammed against the metal rail. Below it, darkness. A drop into the rocky ravine. The painting slid onto the floor. It looked okay. She heard a car door slam behind her, footsteps crunching on the gravel. She tried to open her door. It was stuck. A face appeared in her broken window. It was Mr. O. Rain dripped from his hair. He looked furious, terrified. "Don't move," he commanded. "The car is unstable. If you move, it goes over." Shade looked at him. She looked at the drop. "You did this," she wheezed. "I told you to stop," he said. He reached his hand through the broken window. "Give me your hand, carefully." Shade looked at his hand, the hand she had shaved, the hand that had bought her. "The painting," she said. "Forget the damn painting," Mr. O roared. "Give me your hand." Shade reached down and grabbed the painting instead. She clutched it to her chest. The car groaned, metal grinded against metal. It slipped another inch. "Shade," Mr. O screamed. His composure was gone. He was panicking. "If I come out," Shade whispered, "am I still a doll?" Mr. O looked at her. He looked at the fear in her eyes. He looked at the defiance. "No," he said, his voice cracking. "No, if you come out, you are Shade, just Shade." "Promise?" she asked. "I promise," he said. "Please take my hand." Shade hesitated. Could she trust him? He was a liar. He was a manipulator. But the car slipped again. Kriak, she didn't have a choice. She reached out. She locked her fingers with his. He pulled. He pulled with everything he had. Shade scrambled through the window. As her feet left the car, the metal groaned one last time. The guardrail gave way. The silver car tipped backward. It tumbled into the darkness. Crash, crash, boom. It hit the rocks below and exploded into a fireball. Shade lay on the wet asphalt, gasping for air. She was covered in glass and rain. She was still clutching the painting. Mr. O was on top of her. He wasn't hurting her. He was shielding her from the rain. He was breathing hard, his chest heaving. He looked down at her. He touched her face, checking for injuries. "You crazy," he muttered. "You crazy girl." He buried his face in her neck and hugged her. He hugged her like he had lost her and found her again. Shade lay there, staring up at the rain. The car was gone. The money was gone, but she had the painting, and she was alive. "You promised," she whispered into the wet night. "Just Shade." Mr. O lifted his head. He looked into her eyes. The darkness in him was still there, but something else was there too. Respect. "Fear, just Shade," he agreed. He stood up and pulled her to her feet. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. He didn't try to take the painting. "Come," he said. "My car is here." He led her to his car, a black SUV. He opened the door for her. Shade got in. She didn't look back at the burning wreck below. They drove in silence. But this time, Mr. O drove slowly. He kept glancing at her as if making sure she was still there. "Where are we going?" Shade asked after a while. "Not to the house," Mr. O said. "Mrs. Kim. She will be angry, and the house is not safe anymore. I have enemies, and you," he sighed. "You have outgrown the cage." "So where?" Shade asked. "The airport," Mr. O said. Shade turned to him. "The airport. We are going to Paris," he said. "I have a flat there, no dolls, no business, just art." He reached over and took her hand. His grip was loose, asking, not taking. "We will start over," he said. "You want to paint, you paint. You want to cook, you cook. You want to yell at me, you yell." "And the contract?" Shade asked. "Burned," he said. "It burned with the car." Shade looked out the window. Paris. Freedom, or just a different kind of cage. A gilded cage in a beautiful city. She looked at the painting in her lap. Her mother's face seemed to smile at her. She looked at Mr. O. He wasn't the master anymore. He was just a man who had almost lost the only thing he realized he couldn't live without. Shade squeezed his hand back, just a little. "Okay," she said. "Paris." Mr. O exhaled a long, shaky breath. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Okay," he said. The SUV sped up, heading toward the lights of the airport, leaving the dark, twisted fairy tale behind them. Shade closed her eyes. She wasn't a doll. She wasn't a queen. She was a survivor. And for the first time, the future was a blank canvas. The end.